Welcome everybody to the 2021 State of the Town Breakfast. It is wonderful to see everybody here today. If you would all please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you can believe it, our last in-person event as a chamber was this breakfast last year on March 10th, 2020. Since then, all of our meetings and events have been virtual. In the beginning stages of planning for this event, we had considered hosting it virtually, but we decided to hold off, push the date out a couple of months, in hopes that we could gather together in person. How we meet matters. Why do we gather? To make decisions, to solve problems, to celebrate, and to connect. Coming back from the brink of a very disruptive year, let's celebrate today being able to come together as a community. Let us celebrate our resiliency through the trials of 2020 and the success that our town has had, despite all we have faced through COVID and beyond. For the last 3 years, this breakfast has been led by someone else. Josh Donovan, if you could please stand. He's been our president for the last 3 years. And he's done an amazing job, and I just want to give credit to him for all he's done for our chamber. Thank you. Before we get started this morning, I'd like to request a moment of silence in honor of those we've lost this past year. One being our longtime board member, Elaine Shea. Elaine was a resident of Hanover for more than 50 years and served the community in almost every way possible. She served as a board member on the Hanover Chamber with us. She led our membership committee and approached all new businesses opening in Hanover with the delivery of a welcome bag and a warm smile. She passed away on March 14th of this year. She and her presence on our board will be greatly missed. Thank you. In Elaine's honor, the Hanover Chamber of Commerce has dedicated one of our Hanover high school scholarships, named the Elaine Shea Scholarship. For the class of 2021, the Chamber has awarded 2 Hanover high school student scholarships to help with future educational expenses. We'd like to congratulate the 2 winners of those scholarships, Lauren DeTulio and John Hutchins. Today, I'd like to give a special shout out and thank you to Janet Tierney, Ann Lee, and Francie Donahue for working so hard on coordinating everything you see here this morning. Thank you to Crossroads and to the Y for helping to supply breakfast. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge our board as well. If you're here, can you please stand? Josh Donovan, Tom Osuch, Kathy Follett, B. Murphy, Kevin Dyer, Jim Farrell, Vice President Scott Clifford, and Treasurer Dan Barry. I'd also like to acknowledge the South Shore Chamber and our affiliation with them. Eric and Peter are here today from the South Shore Chamber, so thank you for coming. I'd like to acknowledge our sponsors, First Citizens Federal Credit Union, Curry Hardware, and AP Insurance Group. We'd also like to give a big thank you. Also like to give a big thank you to the YMCA for hosting us this morning. Dan Barry, who helped to coordinate and set up this venue for us today, and CEO Paul Gorman for allowing us to use this wonderful venue. At this time, I'd like to welcome Paul Gorman.
Thank you, Erin. Welcome everyone to the South Shore Y. and Talaris Center for the Arts. Overhearing some conversations this morning, a number of people haven't been here before. This was donated generously by Herb and Pauline Emilson in honor of their memory of their daughter, to develop an arts program here on the South Shore. It's now about 6 or 7 years old. And we have arts camp that's going to be starting up in another month, and arts programs throughout the year. This past year has affected everyone differently, and it's especially hit the YMCA extraordinarily hard. And we're just starting to see daylight a little bit. We, I think on March 17th last year, we closed, and on March 18th, we reopened as emergency childcare down here in Hanover to provide free childcare for frontline essential care workers for the next 3 or 4 months. We did that also in Quincy. We delivered food, meals to some of the seniors down here in Hanover, and those meals were donated through the generosity of a lot of our donors that donate to the Y. We turned our Quincy Y into an emergency homeless shelter in collaboration with Father Bill's, and our food pantry in Germantown, which a lot of our staff who remained during the time we closed went up there to work full time. We more than quadrupled. We went from donating to giving out about 3,000 or 4,000 pounds a week to over 22,000 pounds per week, and that still continues. In order for us to do that, is the generosity of folks throughout the South Shore, and especially down here in the Hanover area, to help make that happen. As I said, we start to see the light a little bit. We're at about 40% of where we were in 2019. Our camps are going really strong, are registering really strong. We expect them to open at the same numbers in 2019. Everything else is relatively slow. Our child care site, which is actually on this property, but around the corner on 53, is about 40 or 50%. As folks go back to work, the demand will increase. But today is just to say thank you for everyone that supported the Y during this time. And the Y in Hanover provides many services besides camp and child care for the youth in town, but it also provides a community center. We have so many members, such a high percentage of our members come from Hanover, and we were able to bring those folks together here. We're happy to be the host today, and the host as a community center in the town of Hanover. So welcome, and thank you again for all your support. I'd like to hand it over now to our town manager, Joe Callahan.
Thank you, everyone, for coming here. I was, I think the last event before the world closed was last year's State of the Town breakfast. I know Josh and I were both sweating for a few weeks that we were going to be the cause of a spreader event at the very end before everything closed down. But it's nice to have this as the restart and the reopening. It feels fitting at the State of the Town breakfast that we're being able to do this today. I just want to acknowledge, I think that there'll be a lot of time to acknowledge this in the next few months, just the town response to COVID. I think that we were the leaders in Massachusetts, school, having to open on time, stay open, in-person learning, resuming before most other districts, if not all other districts, not just here, but around the country. We did a great job with that. Fire department, implementing the mobile integrated health program, where we're able to visit people at their homes, the most vulnerable, to make sure they didn't go to the hospital, they were treated there on time. We opened that to town-wide testing, school testing. You'll never know the lives that were saved, trips to the hospital that didn't have to happen. We don't know, as Chief Blanchard often reminds me, we don't know all the fires that were prevented. But I think that it's safe to say that we did an extraordinary job in Hanover, leaders, and it was the entire town effort. You can't just thank one person or acknowledge one person without acknowledging everyone. Custodial staff, DPW, police, fire, all of our volunteers. We put out a call for volunteers at the beginning of the pandemic, and there's over 300 volunteers that signed up pretty quickly. There was so many volunteers that actually we had a volunteer, a manual doctor, actually manage and coordinate all the volunteers. That's how many people signed up to want to help the community, deliver food to people. It was something to see. It was a great town effort, and I want to acknowledge all that. In the fire department, we had a number of firefighters, including Jay Caballero in the back, who were provided the Firefighter of the Year award for their efforts in bringing the local integrated health program together. Well deserved. Captain Fred Freeman has kind of been like Mick Jagger lately. He's getting the acknowledgement for the Profile and Courage Award and all the efforts that he did for that. I even saw Josh sent me the Boston Globe yesterday that he's a travel connoisseur and kind of a renaissance man of that sort. So Fred's certainly did the town proud, and really excellent job for him, and he deserves all his accolades. One person I want to acknowledge here today, and again, it's hard to acknowledge one person without acknowledging everyone, because it was a total team effort. You can't take one person out of the team. I think that you can have the same result again. Chief Blanchard deserves a lot of recognition, not just today, but over the coming months from the town. When we adopted, we put into effect the local emergency operation plan that put Chief Blanchard, and we actually adopted that or implemented it before the federal government did in response to COVID. We were kind of setting the pace. That put Chief Blanchard in charge of our response. And I remember last March, after everything had shut down, he had driven to Purdue to pick up his son and bring him back. I think it was about probably a 48-hour driving in, driving out, coming back. Stopped at the firehouse one Saturday morning. It was 5:30 in the morning, and Chief Blanchard was there putting together the entire plan. You could literally see the neurons kind of firing off his head. He was so engaged, and he basically put the whole response plan together like that. And I contacted the selectman. I said, this guy's got it under control. The best thing we can do is kind of stay out of his way and let him do his thing. And he was the right man at the right time for Hanover. I know he's been on staff in one capacity or another for over 40 years in this town. He grew up here, and his response and what he did to lead us through the past year is remarkable, and he deserves a lot of praise. And hopefully this is just the start of it. But and I just want to acknowledge Jeff and everything that he did. It was a whole team effort. I know sometimes the battle cry from Bill Belichick at the parades is no days off, no days off. But everyone's taking the day off of work to go to the parade, I guess. But it was no days off for Chief Blanchard and the entire team. And we were on calls every single day, 7 days a week, at 9 o'clock in the morning for months and months and months, putting it together. People were even when town hall was closed or other offices were closed and staff was given the option of staying home or working from home, almost everyone came in and worked anyways, 7 days a week. You couldn't keep people away. So it was just a total team effort, and really inspiring. And again, everything that we accomplished to get schools open on time, it wasn't just an effort to showcase that we were putting an effort because people cared, but there was actually good results. Getting the schools open, keeping them open, having the testing program. And again, we'll never know how many lives we saved or how many people didn't have to go to the hospital and were able to be taken care of at home. We won't necessarily know all that, but it's safe to say that a lot of people were helped. And significantly by our efforts. So just great team effort and something that we should all be proud of. And one day when we have a little bit of time on our hands, we can kind of document what the entire response was, because I certainly know that we were the trendsetters in Massachusetts. All what we do in the schools and the town side, that people were looking at Hanover for our response, and that they were copying us. And of course, that's good. We want people to also be successful, but we were always leading the way. And if a town or a city anywhere in the country did a better job than we did, I'd like to go there and greet them and meet them. But because I'm not sure that happened. I think that we really did a phenomenal job. There was some, I guess, silver lining of the pandemic, and hopefully something that the town and the chamber can work together on. I saw there was an article in the Patriot Ledger last week, it came out in the print edition, but some of the relaxation of outdoor dining and alcohol permitting for the restaurants. I know I went to Crossroads and ate in their out in the grass area that they had. Burke's had a nice setup that they were able to do. Brothers had a nice setup, and hopefully I know that there's going to be an extension of that from the governor. And I guess that would be my thought, that we strongly advocate for those outdoor dining permits to forever be as easily permitted as they were. It's great to be able to sit outside and eat and drink. I think everyone agrees on that. It was just difficult on the town side because of all the regulations to make it happen. As soon as it was made easy, we made it happen. I think everyone enjoyed that. So I hope we can partner with the chamber and the town and elected leaders and really advocate for that on the statewide level and keep that going, because it's been a good thing for Hanover. Moving quickly into our town finances, I want to acknowledge our new finance director, Chelsea Stevens, is here. Our former finance director took the manager job in Whitman. He did a great job. Chelsea's doing a great job. It's quickly acknowledge that our finances are in great shape. Certainly we were helped by some of the stimulus money that came in for COVID. That helped us put together some of our programs to keep school going. But I just want to make it clear that we would have been able to do all that, I think, without the stimulus program. We had strong enough finances that we were going to get through this as a town, that we were going to be fine. The budget that was just passed and voted on at town meeting, even during the pandemic, is going to result in the lowest property tax increase for property tax payers since at least 2010 and probably well before that. So between the advisory committee, school committee, the selectmen and staff, we've really done a phenomenal job of having strong finances. Our bond rating is AA2, which is really the highest rating you could get for a municipality our size. So we're in phenomenal shape with town finances, and hopefully that gives everyone a feeling of relief that we not just survive, but we're going to flourish as we get out of COVID. I want to acknowledge or discuss water real quick. That's been a concern. 2 years ago, Victor Diniak and I really implemented a more aggressive flushing program. So instead of once a year, we went out and started flushing the hydrants twice a year, and that's resulted in a significant reduction in groundwater complaints. When I first got here, it seemed like we were getting groundwater complaints basically every week, and so we went forward and adopted a stronger and more aggressive flushing program. And I think that's resulted in a significant reduction in complaints about groundwater. So that's been a real positive the last few years. Also, in terms of water quality, the disinfectant byproduct project, capital improvement the town's been working on for about 5 years, was put in place in January. And the result of that is now that we're under all the thresholds, and so we no longer have to send out those letters to people saying that there's a problem with the water or anything like that. So that's been a positive, and hopefully for the business side and residential side, knowing that we have healthy water, clear water is only a benefit. So I want to just touch on the fireworks site. I know there's some realtors here, realtors that are part of the chamber, probably one of the most common question I would receive were from real estate agents looking to, when they were selling property, and they were contacting me if there was any concerns about the fireworks site. And we had, actually, thanks to Emmanuel, he's here, the cancer study that we asked the state to do about a year and a half ago was finally done in March. Folks haven't seen the results. There was a selectmen's meeting, I guess, in early April, where we hired our own subject matter expert to discuss and explain the results of that study, since that's been such a question on people's minds, and rightfully so. And if you haven't a chance to watch that, it's worth watching. The bottom line is that really the study has come back to the conclusion that there is not a significant concern in Hanover. And again, a statistical study is pretty impersonal. It doesn't mean anything for someone, or if you know someone, or if you personally are struggling with cancer, that a statistical study is pretty impersonal that way. But the results were positive for Hanover. Glad that we had the study done, and it was explained really well in a public meeting for anyone who wants to watch and see exactly what the science was behind it, and to hopefully put yourself at ease, and also put ease for any clients that you're selling real estate in the area. Last point I want to talk about real quick is diversity and inclusion. It seems like it's a big topic around the country. Certainly 2020, between COVID and some of the other issues that were societal issues that came out, diversity and inclusion is one of the topics that came to light. I do want to acknowledge Chief Sweeney is here, and the police departments, not just here, but around the country, maybe bear an unnecessary burden or brunt of that. But all the police reform that I heard about, Chief Sweeney and the department has been doing for years. There's unconscious bias training and all these things that seem to be all of a sudden in vogue now. Our department's been doing that for years and years. I think that Chief Sweeney has put forward a great culture that we have in our department, and I just want to acknowledge everything that the Chief has done. And again, he did that proactively before this was his wife in the eye of the public as it is now. And it's not just the police department. We all need to be better and do better with that. Probably get told for Vanessa contact her a number of times when issues like this arise. But I do want to acknowledge Selectwoman O'Connor. I think I'm assuming, I could be wrong, but she's the first Black selectman in Hanover. That may not be true, but I want to acknowledge that it is nice that Vanessa put herself forward, and that we have. I had a few discussions with Vanessa that it's not just I think race that is the diversity that she brings to the table. It's the first full-fledged millennial that's really in a leadership position now, and I think that says a lot. That we have different people getting involved, and that we're able to transition to a new generation of leadership. But I do think Selectwoman O'Connor deserves a lot of acknowledgement for being, I guess, on the forefront of change and stepping forward and taking some courage. And she's done a great job, a lot of great energy. And I really want to acknowledge that. Diversity in Hanover maybe isn't as apparent on the residential side, but I do think on the business side, there are a number of business owners or folks in business that are from diverse backgrounds, and I hope that we're doing enough that people feel comfortable to work in Hanover, to come to Hanover, to learn in restaurants and be part of our community. And if we're not, there should be more. That should be a focal point, not just for the town, but the chamber, that we're making sure that we're doing everything we need, that Hanover really is an inviting community and a place that people want to come to and enjoy. So I want to thank everyone, and thank you for your time, Aaron, and for being here. And again, the success that we had over the last year in response to COVID, it didn't happen because all of a sudden we decided to try real hard. All these plans were in place. Chief Blanchard had an emergency operation plan in place for years and years. That was up on a shelf, tabletop exercises. And it wasn't just a mistake that we responded as well as we did. It was a lot of practice. We had a lot of really good people involved, and there's a lot to be proud of. And I hope that there's a lot of time to acknowledge our successes in response to COVID and the people involved who did such an extraordinary job. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of the day. And when I started here about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, I do want to make note that one of the gripes I heard chiefs when I was driving around town and starting to meet people was that Hanover could use some more restaurants. And so, I don't want to say that take any credit for all this, but in the last 3 years, there's been some good change with that. Brothers coming on board, I think that's a popular place. Everything in Merchants Row that's great at Flanders and Alba. That's a lot of fun to go to, and I know that Hanover Crossing will have some restaurants too. So I think Hanover has become a destination for people around the area to come to now and to enjoy some of the new restaurants. And Frank Giulio from Merchants Row lives in town. Certainly has put a lot of money in developing a really great project over there. Go there every week, one way or another. Little Duke's ice cream, like I said, the kids like that playground area in front of it. It's really a success story, and so looking forward for Frank to tell us more about it.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for all your time and services to everyone in the community. Thank you for the opportunity to come here and talk about Merchants Row. It's certainly one of my favorite projects. I put a lot of heart and soul into that project. The last year was very trying. We have a great commitment to our tenants, not only in Merchants Row, but all of our buildings. And our tenants suffered in the last year. And we wanted to join in with them to help them. So at the early onset of COVID, we abated a lot of rent for our tenants, certainly through March, July, August of last year. I'm too afraid to look at it, but my secretary tells me it's over $1 million that we abated rent for not only retail tenants, but certainly some office tenants that needed some help. We did have, unfortunately, one casualty at Merchants Row, which was Cape Kids. Just couldn't hold on. He didn't have the capital to stay on as much as we helped them, and really gave virtually free rent for a while. So we're happy to say, though, we're emerging from COVID very strong. Our tenants are reporting strong sales, and our leasing activity is getting much better. I'm actually happily surprised, that we've had a surge in inquiries for retail space. It's been very active. So we have recently rented a number of spaces at Merchants Row. Two are under construction. One of them is second to none, which is a boutique clothing store and furniture store. We also rented to a company called Elliott Physical Therapy. This is their 7th location, and they're under construction right now. We expect both those to be open by the end of the month. In the former Cape Kids space, we rented a company called Crumple Cookie. This is the first of being announced. I did talk with the corporate people to see if it's okay if they announce them. Crumple Cookie is just awesome. They're coming from the West Coast. They have about 100 stores, and they're now coming through here at the East Coast. They have about 3 locations open in Massachusetts right now. They just have a fabulous, unique bakery of cookies and cupcakes, and which will make us all eat more so we can go to the gym and feel better about ourselves. But it's really a fantastic opportunity for Merchants Row to capture that tenant. And one other thing that I will announce too is we're in design concepts right now with expanding Alba. Alba's done a phenomenal job over there. They have a line of their sushi that they brought in, and if we expand them, one of the expansion parts is that they can open a full sushi bar, which I think is really well needed and will help round that restaurant off. One other item that's going to help our economy as well is we own a number of office buildings, as you may or may not know, and all the people coming back to our buildings. It's just wonderful to see. We're probably better than 50% capacity right now. I expect by September we'll be back to 100% capacity. These people are going to come out every day. They're going to go out for lunch. They're going to buy goods and services, and they're just going to generate much more business as the population grows during the workday in the community. So through these leases that we've done, we've rented about 11,000 square feet of space. When they're all completed, we'll only have one vacancy left, which makes me and my bank very, very happy. The leases that we have in place are all solid. The tenants are all doing very well. I'm delighted to see people go and enjoy the center. That's what we built it for. We endeavored to do something different. It was a little bit of a challenge where we designed it. Hope people like it. When I walk on the property and see people sitting outside of Lucky Finn's enjoying their coffee and the kids playing on a little playground area, and I feel a little guilty, of course, when I'm having an ice cream and people coming out of the gym areas. But it's all worked out very well, and we hope that everyone likes it. Thank you for the opportunity to come up here to speak about Griffiths Row. Our future is looking bright, and hoping these new tenants will bring some nice services to the community. And I'd also like to thank the community. The town has been wonderful to work with through this whole process. It has actually been a great partner in this whole process. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Jill Donilon from Hanover Farmers Market.
Good morning. I first want to thank Eric Richardson for inviting Chris Honan and myself here to speak to you about the Hanover Farmers Market. My name is Jill Donilon. I actually currently live in Norwell, but have strong ties to Hanover. My husband and I both grew up in Hanover. I'm a Hanover High School graduate, and I'm very excited to bring the Hanover Farmers Market. So my title is Market Manager, and we are having a very successful season so far. We kicked off last month on May 16th, and our next market, it will be in a few weeks on June 20th, which is Father's Day. Our vision for this market was to bring together the community, but at the same time to help support local farmers and artisans, especially in this difficult past year. And it wasn't without the hard work and support of the town that allowed us to prepare for and execute this series of events. It was truly a collaborative effort between the town manager, the Board of Health, DPW, Hanover High School administration, local fire, and police. So Melissa and Chris had first proposed of the Hanover Farmers Market at a Board of Selectmen meeting the end of January. And over the past several months, we were really able to come together, get all the necessary permitting. We've had many vendors that have been interested, and we had about 18 vendors at our first farmers market. And since that first farmers market, I've had several more inquiries, and we're going to be including a few new vendors on the June 20th date. Just to highlight a few of the different vendors that we had at the last market, it included local farms such as Frida's Farms, Nezarella Farms, Stargazer Hollow, who specializes in fresh duck eggs. They brought fresh produce and plants. We had locally made hot sauces, marinades, biscotti, vegan ice cream, handmade soaps, and all natural dog treats. Many of those vendors sold out of their products within the first 2 hours. And I had a couple of vendors that came up to me and said that it was the most successful market that they've seen in several years. We had families that were coming with their young children, but I also had one woman come through who said she's been a resident of Hanover for 91 years. And as I said, our next market is Sunday, June 20th. We are running our market the third Sunday of the month through November. It is a rain or shine market, but we are hoping that Mother Nature is kind to us. We did have a little bit of rain that came through at our last market, but it didn't scare people away. We also have sponsorship opportunities available to help defray some of the costs associated with putting on the event. And if you're interested, feel free to come talk to me after the event if there's time for mingling after. And Chris? No. So Chris, I just want to highlight. So Chris, he's got nothing. Chris and Melissa are residents of Hanover. They have been doing farmers markets for about the past 3 years. So they sell small batch homemade bone broth. So I definitely encourage you to try it. It's amazing, has many health benefits. And they've been doing markets throughout the South Shore, including Hingham, Cohasset, Kingston, Weymouth, Braintree. And so Melissa had this vision of, bringing one to her own community. And she asked me in January to help her put this into place. And of course, she's my longtime childhood friend, and I was excited to work with her to do it. And so it's just been a very joyful experience. And I think when we had our first market, we weren't really sure what to expect, but we had people lining up, excited to get in and shop the market before we even rang the opening bell. And, we had a constant flow of people, influx of people coming around. And like I said, I'm happy to see that a lot of the vendors were very successful selling out their products. They now know that they need to bring 2 or 3 times as much to the next market. And I think the community was just happy to, especially after this past year, to be out and supporting those local small businesses. So with that, I just again want to say thank you. And if anyone wants to come talk to Chris or I after, we'll be around for a little bit. Thank you. I forgot. And so I would like to introduce Ed Callahan to give a Hanover Crossing update. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Joe, I didn't time the construction sound of banging ledge when you were speaking on purpose, but it does represent that we do have construction going on. You could all hear it. Unfortunately, it's banging ledge. My name is Ed Callahan. I'm the general manager of Hanover Crossing, former Hanover Mall. I want to thank the Chamber, Erin, thank you. I want to thank the South Shore Chamber and Josh, of course. I can't forget you. You sat there in the trenches with us during permitting for several years. Thank you very much. South Shore Chamber, Peter and Eric, thank you. I see Eric up there. I talked to Peter earlier. They were a force in helping us through permitting as well. And I can't thank them enough for all the work they did on behalf of PrEP and Hanover Mall in order to get us through this. I just want to give you a little history because time kind of flies by. And so PrEP bought the property in October 2016. And if you told me in 2016 I'd be sitting here in 2021, under construction, that's, it's 4 or 5 years process to get to where we've gotten now. 2017 was kind of the year that PrEP was like, okay, now we bought it, what are we going to do with it? We have an aging mall we've been owned by the bank for 6 years. It's been a hard time, and so PrEP's vision to completely tear down the enclosed mall and the anchor stores that the behemoth anchor stores that we were surrounded by. We tore down over 500,000 square feet of space in order to build what we're building now, which is an open air, mixed use, commercial and a residential project, which has been under construction now for over a year. 2017, a milestone, we received the town meeting vote, special town meeting vote for supporting our TIF, the tax incremental financing program, which hopefully as we're starting to build value here, it'll start to actually come to fruition. We haven't quite gotten there yet. 2018, 2019, permitting was finalized in January 2019 when we received the approval from the Hanover Planning Board for the comprehensive mixed-use project, including the new open-air mixed use with residential, by adopting the VPUD, or the Village Plan Unit Development Existing Bylaw. Along with the permit, we received variances from ZBA for the residential. We received permitting from Hanover Conservation. We received permitting from Norwell, which we have land also in Norwell. So we went through Norwell Planning Board, Norwell ZBA, and Norwell Conservation. We also, due to the size of the project, particularly the addition of Market Basket, we had to go through the state MEPA process, which we received our MEPA certificate from the state, which is it's a comprehensive environmental permit, which basically opens up your project to all the state agencies to comment and to make changes in what you're going to do according to whether it's Mass DOT or DEP or DER or just a lot of legwork. So we got through that. Thanks to the town's support, we were granted 13 liquor licenses for the project, 10 full pour licenses, 3 beer and wine licenses. We can't wait to start to use them, and congratulations, Frank, on your restaurants and hopefully your expansion of Alba and whatnot. I think your place looks great. It's awesome. I think collectively strength in the commercial and in the corridor is really important. Yeah, and so we've gone through permitting. We got support from Josh Katzen, who owns the Target project. I mean, just like you said, Frank, everyone around us wanted to see us succeed, because I think a behemoth dying mall was doing nobody any good. And you took, obviously, kind of an interesting project there in Merchants Row and turned it into quite some spectacular thing. In 2020, again, thanks to the town for working with us, this town applied for a Mass Works grant permit, which was given by the state. I think we were one of probably 25 communities or so to receive one, and I think there was close to 90 applicants. So that was just under a $1.3 million grant, which will pay for several things. The new traffic signal we'll be installing at the Buffalo Wild Wings entrance. That'll be done in 2022. It'll also help fund for the repaving of Mill Street, which if you've driven down Mill Street, you'll be happy to know it's going to get, this year I think we're going to do a binder coat, and then next year when everything's finished we'll put the final coat on. And then we're going to do Hanover Mall Drive coming in from the 53 by the car dealership, and that'll be a complete repave. We'll add a sidewalk down from the sidewalk that comes across the Route 3 bridge. It'll hook up with that, so there'll be some pedestrian connectivity from 53 back into the property. And I think with Mass DOT on the permit for the signal, there'll be some additional sidewalks added on to 53 on the mall side. I'm still waiting for the final DOT authorization. We also took down part of the permitting. We agreed to work with the North-South Water River Association to try to remove the Peterson Pond Dam. The dam was the last of the 3 dams, and there was one on the Y property here, and that was Mill Pond, and then there was a dam down at Cardinal Cushing, which was the Tack Factory Dam. So the Peterson Pond Dam, which sat behind the cinema on our property, was the last sort of impediment for the migration of the trout and different species. I won't go into my expertise on migrating fish, but we worked with North-South River. We received grants from the federal agency NOAA. We received grants from the DER in the state, and we took the dam down. We took the dam down. It took about probably a year and a half of permitting to get that done. The permits that we received in order to take that down was extraordinary. I mean, I was looking at one permit, it was an underwater archaeological, thing from the state, and someone said to me, is there a shipwreck there or something? But we took it down in about 30 days. So it was a year and a half of permitting and about 30, 40 days of actually taking it down. And if you get a chance to see it, it's really pretty. I mean, before there was a pond there, the pond's gone, the Third Herring Brook is now roving through our property, just like it did when the Y did theirs. And so in the end game is Jacob's Pond. So that's the last place where the fish can go, and if they can get all the way up to Jacob's Pond, and I think the town of Norwell is going to put in a fish ladder there, then we've completed the process. So from an environmental standpoint, it was a great project. It was great to work with Sam and Sarah over at North-South River. I've been promising them for years I'll work with them to do this, and we finally did it. So that was quite a feat. COVID, COVID happens. I want to congratulate the town again, as Joe alluded to, all the work that, the fire department, the police department, the health workers and whatnot, and a particular shout out to Fred Freeman, who, as we know, won the Profile and Courage Award. We've known Fred now for years. Chief, Jay, thank you very much. I don't see Fred here, but please congratulate him for us. Did COVID affect our project? Damn right. I'd be lying to you if it did, but obviously the world shut down. Retailers that were looking to do deals with us or had deals in place with other developers to open stores in 2019 and 2020, they went into pause. So everybody had to kind of sit down, relax, try to get through this. I want to say leasing activity is strong. It was strong before COVID. It continues to now pick up momentum, which is great. I think part of going through, I guess I'll go to Frank. Like, here you opened a brand new center with all these stores ready to open, and COVID hit, right? We were demolishing the interior mall and these anchor stores. So we were actually in a position where, at the end of the day, we had 9 stores operating, the outparcel, mostly national tenants, mostly able to pay rents, some abatement and repayment. But because we were shutting down, we didn't have the effect that one would have with trying to open a center at the same time. So we were lucky that way. 2020, so we demolished 570,000 square feet of existing buildings. We regraded, we added all the new underground utilities, including water, sewer, stormwater, electrical, gas, telecommunications. We also built and have just completed, we're just waiting for the DEP to give us the final approval to put it online, an $8 million wastewater treatment plant. I tried to convince Joe to add town sewer for our project, but he wouldn't yield to that. Actually, our new plant is on the other side of the Y. The existing plant is on our property, and it sits where the residential piece is going to go. So the key for us is we've completed this new plant. We get the certification from DEP to put it online. I can decommission that plant that's on our property, contiguous property, and then we can decommission that and turn that over to Hanover Company to start building the residential. So that should be happening in the next 3 or 4 weeks, where we get the approval from DEP, decommissioning. Hanover Company's already on site with a trailer, so they're raring to go. They're Callahan are looking at me going, when can we start? When can we start? As you know, Chipotle opened up a couple weeks ago. Market Basket is under construction. They're due to open, we hope, by the end of this year. I haven't gotten an update from them, but that was their goal when they went under construction. They had a good winter conditions for construction. I think the only issues that are coming up right now is building supplies. There's a real shortage of metal studs, and the price of wood is extraordinarily high. So if there's any type of delays, it would be due. But I don't see that. I think they got a head start enough to get going, and hopefully by the end of this year we'll see them opening. As we mentioned before, we have a showcase cinema that's coming. They're already in for a permit with the town, so they should start building sometime this summer, probably July or August. We'll be in for our building permits for our new 9 buildings by the end of June, and hopefully start construction by mid to late August. We're talking a 2022 into 2023 opening. That's about the same time frame as the residential will be building as well. So I think the future's bright now. It was very difficult to kind of see where we'd be with COVID, but I think our hope is that, you know, we're getting back to normal life, and by the time that we open in 2022 and there's no other setbacks, we're opening to hopefully a fresh, brand new, fun world. And again, I want to continue looking at you, Frank, going, you went through it all. I do have one. So Showcase Cinema's coming. You have several restaurants that are coming, but I do have one announcement that I want to make that we begged for. The lease is done. We talked to them over the weekend, and we asked, can we announce this? Can we announce this? And I finally got a text this morning that said yes. So we do have a flagship LL Bean store coming. It's about, I think it's 12,000, 13,000 square feet. It's a great store. It's a solid anchor store for us. It helps with leasing off that. So on that positive note, I think I'm done. And thank you very much for your time, and have a great day.
So much. Thank you to everyone for coming this morning. Thank you to our speakers. As we wrap up this morning, I just want to speak a little to what the Chamber has coming up now that we are able to get back in person and ramp up some of our events again. We're really excited. One of them being the Beautification Award. So we have a Beautification Award that we are giving to one business for $2,500. So if you own a business or know of a local business that would benefit from this, it's to help with signage and paving and landscaping and anything in town that a business may need assistance with. We are accepting applications for that grant through June 30th. We are also in talks with Frank about doing a Merchants Row walking tour, which will be really exciting for the community, and the Hanover Road Race. So we were not able to have the road race in its usual date this year for obvious reasons, but we are planning to do the road race in the fall. So keep your ears out for that, as we'll need runners and sponsors and all sorts of things. But again, I just want to thank everybody for being here today. This has been a great morning. We're happy to see all of your faces here, and please stick around, and if you have any questions for any of these guys, I'm sure they'd be happy to discuss more what they have going on. So thank you.